Hey y'all, Ramdino here. Well, I want to give you a quick update, quick PSA on what's occurred this past week with a person on the trail doing inappropriate things to women and around them. Gives me no joy to have to do a video like this, but I think hikers out there on the trail need to know. They need to know who they're looking out for. So I'm parsing my words carefully here throughout this video. So I started getting a few texts and emails earlier this week, sometime right about Tuesday, that there was a hiker on the trail that was doing inappropriate things to and around women out there on the trail. By Wednesday, that started to cascade into just a lot of text and emails coming in about a guy's name, hiker who was named Ice. And then I was contacted by one of the victims who sent me this video, and it's being used with her permission. She will not, her name will not be told, but she did give permission to use this video, and I think it's important that you see what was occurring at the time.
Yeah. What?
So you can see that Ice was very evasive. He didn't want to be filmed. Once he saw she was on her phone and filming, her laugh is not that of someone having a good time. Just because you're laughing doesn't mean you're having a good time. It's one of uncomfortableness, vulnerability, concern. And she indicates that this occurred somewhere while they were hiking between Neal's Gap and Baggs Camp. She said, not familiar with that camp. But here's the email that she sent me along with that video. She said, yesterday on the trail, we met up with a guy named Ice. He passed us a few times on the trail, kept turning around and following me, and stayed at the same camp. He touched me multiple times, kept touching my hair, wanting to massage me, offering me drugs and alcohol. Kept saying he wanted to play a game with me and my friend. Last night appears that he was, and she used a different word. She used a word starting with M-A. But she said making weird sexual silhouettes outside of our shelter. We could see the silhouette, and it looked like he was doing it on purpose. He kept walking around our campsite, and she indicated that this happened pretty much all night, started around midnight, and it ended somewhere around 5 a.m. in the morning. So they were up all night having to deal with this. I would call that terror, going to the terror of the public. But she is sending this video at the end of the picture of him, and that was all she had at the time. Then I also started getting numerous folks reporting to me that they had contacted the trail runners and the authorities, and that all apparently worked out great, better than expected, because he was quickly apprehended and gotten off the trail pretty quick. That area down in Georgia, there's a lot of road crossings, and so the authorities were able to get to a place where he was going to be crossing, and they had enough information from other hikers about where he was on the trail. And so many times this type of criminal behavior and assault goes unreported or uninvestigated, unfortunately. But because of the reporting to the authorities and the hiker community and the actions that were taken, he was apprehended quickly. So I was also in contact with another hiker that saw him get arrested at Unicoi Gap, sent me a picture of that. Hiker asked me that picture not be released. He did not want to be involved anymore, and so I'm not releasing that. I'm going to honor that request. But he was arrested by the National Forest Service and the Towns County Sheriff Office on Wednesday. Because there's a federal agency that was involved, the National Forest Service, law enforcement, and Unicoi Gap is right around the border of several counties there. It's kind of tough to find out what detention facility he was in. Fortunately, my source in Georgia, who knows the area, directed me to the Wright County Jail, so I appreciate that. The individual was taken and jailed at the Towns County, Georgia detention facility. He was charged with a misdemeanor for possession of marijuana and a felony for Schedule II controlled substance. So Schedule II controlled substances in Georgia are those drugs that can be, those narcotics that have medicinal value to them. So things like cocaine, believe it or not, methamphetamines, fentanyl, codeine, things like that you can actually get if you have a prescription. He bonded out of jail last night. That was on the 4th. So this is all of this information is per the Towns County Detention Center. Jail records show that his name is James Namecombe. So he is out of jail, posted his bond, and he is out. There's no telling when his court date will be. Obviously, he would be required to come back for his court date. No telling when that is. Don't know exactly what the punishment would be. To be a broad range of punishments, probably that the possession of marijuana, since it's a misdemeanor, would be dropped, and they would concentrate on the felony. And I don't know how much he was found with, so that depends on his sentence would depend on how much of the controlled substance he had and what he was doing with it during the course of the events. Unfortunately, this is eerily reminiscent of what occurred in 2019 with James Jordan. So James Jordan was also arrested in the Unicoi County, Tennessee, and he was only charged with drug charges. He bonded out, or more than likely in his case, since he didn't know anybody, he was a loner and presumably homeless, that he was likely declared indigent and released on his own recognizance, because he didn't his charges were, I don't believe, were felonies or anything like that. They were just misdemeanors. But he returned to the trail. Of course, he murdered Stronghold and then almost murdered another hiker with a knife and assaulted her as well. And he was caught. Now he's locked up after being declared insane. So don't hear me fear-mongering. I'm not saying that this James Nakung is going to do the same thing. I'm not saying he's going to murder anybody. I'm not saying he's even going to return to the trail. But people out there on the trail need to know what he looks like in case he does. The hiker community performed great in this case, and so I'm sure they would do it again. When James Jordan was originally apprehended the first time, I put his face out on through this channel, and people screenshotted him, and that helped some people recognize him and were able to avoid a worse confrontation with him before what actually occurred out there on the trail with Stronghold. So I want you to know what he looks like in case he does come back. He's described as being 6'2", 225 pounds, of Asian descent, of obvious Asian descent. At the time all this occurred, he had a red Osprey pack, a camo hat, and was carrying an ice axe. No reason to have an ice axe on the Appalachian Trail. And he had a trowel with a lot of yellow paracord wrapped around it, and he also had a lot of paracord bracelets. He also had a green pack cover that he would put over that red pack. So screenshot this picture here in case you come across this individual again. If you see him back on trail, please get on social media and let people know he is back on trail. If he has commits a crime, then obviously you need to let the authorities know and do the same thing that occurred again, is let the trail runners and let other people know. The hiker community responded great this time, and that's what got him off the trail. Unfortunately, the two women that were involved directly with it, they are no longer on trail. One I communicated with earlier today was at the airport, and the other is getting off, is my understanding. So if you have takeaways that the hiker community needs to understand here, and that is, if you have an issue with anyone on the trail, or you're just uncomfortable around a person or intimidated, then first thing is leave the area. Hike on to the next trailhead, even if that means you have to pack up your stuff and go. Call a shuttle at the trailhead and just get off the trail if you feel threatened or intimidated at all, and get off the trail for no other reason to go back and regroup mentally about it. If there's been a crime committed, then you certainly, there's some other things you need to do about that. Obviously, call the authorities, but get around other people, let them know what's going on. If you can't exit the trail immediately, let a ridge runner know if one comes by. The ATC specifically says, and here's a number that you need to screenshot, if you're not in immediate danger but witness suspicious behavior, have a bad feeling about someone, observe vandalism or resource damage, or just feel like something should be reported. So there's a very low threshold there of what they want you to call the National Park Service 24-hour dispatch communications center. That's a non-emergency, to inform them of the situation. That number is here, and that number is 301-714-2235. They also say if you are in a situation where you need immediate response, but you feel like a phone call would get you in trouble, would make things worse, then Text a friend, ask them to call 911 with where you're at, your exact location, the state, and what's going on, the nature of the incident. If you don't have the ability to call or send a text, they say send an email. But if you can send a text, you can send an email. So I don't know that that's going to really work well for you, but they say be aware an email will not trigger an immediate law enforcement response, especially on weekends or after hours. So while they want you to email them that, if you can, don't expect anybody to be out there right away. After completing those steps, they say if you're able to submit a detailed report, they ask you to fill out this incident report form. If it's something worthy of filling that out, you're going to probably be calling the authorities anyway, but that link is found on the ATC website. If you're by yourself and encounter a stranger who makes you feel uncomfortable, just say you're with a group that's right behind you that's coming. You're just hiking a little faster with them, and then continue to move on. Keep moving no matter what, and then try to connect with another group of hikers. Always pay attention to your instincts about other people out there on the trail. The AT is a safe place, especially compared to the Matrix. So statistics-wise, the murder rate in the Matrix is 7.35 people per 100,000 people in the population. On the AT, with the number of visitors, which is around 3 to 6 million a year, the rate is somewhere around 0.0072 murders per 100,000 visitors to the AT. Now, that is about 1,000 times more than what it is out in the Matrix. So we're not saying anybody's going to get murdered here, or that this person, ICE, is going to come back to the trail and murder anybody. We're not saying that at all. The only reason we're using those statistics is because that's really the most readily available statistics. There's not a lot of statistics on assault on the trail because a lot goes unreported. A lot goes uninvestigated. So unfortunately, those are the best crime statistics we have. But we're certainly not saying that he's going to come back and do that to anybody. Hopefully he won't return to the trail now that he's been outed on Reddit and Facebook and here, and the hiker community is aware of who he is, and hopefully is spreading that awareness. Cases like this are very isolated. So just like in the Matrix, there's bad people everywhere. Doesn't mean that you shouldn't come to the trail. Doesn't mean you should be fearful of the trail. You should be wary, just like you would anywhere you're going. The community came together and got a bad person off the trail. So just be safe, play it smart out there, look out for each other. This is a great community. This is a great trail. I hate to have to do a video like this, but hikers are on the trail. They need to know what's going on. They need to know to be on the lookout so they can help each other. Folks, just look out for each other. Stay safe out there on the trail. Enjoy what you're doing out there, what you're doing. If you're a through hiker or a section hiker, it doesn't matter. It's such a great community, such a great trail to be on. So just enjoy it. Happy hiking. Appreciate you, and we'll see you out there. Just received an email from my very reliable source down in Georgia who knows all things about the Appalachian Trail and is very involved, that he has been spotted back on trail in the vicinity of Indian Grave Gap. So wanted to pass that along with this video. Look out for each other out there, folks.